Your help is not forgotten, for God is not unjust to forget your work and labor of love. Many a time the help you have labored would have gone unnoticed, and it may feel so unfair that no one has recognized the sacrifices you have made. But dear beloved children, be encouraged that God remembers each and every ounce that you have lifted. Even if people do not appreciate your help, don't feel discouraged. God will reward you. We need to get our reward only from God, not from our fellow friends or human beings. Continue your good work in His name. God will surely reward you. Your help will not be forgotten. So please don't feel discouraged that you have not been noticed or appreciated by me or anybody else. God is there watching all your work and the labor of your love. So He will reward you at the right time. Wait with patience. So today we have come to the last part of banking. We have already seen about banking, the central bank, the commercial bank, the role of commercial banks in economic development. Then we saw about the functions of the central bank as well as the commercial banks. Then we saw about NABARD, the agricultural credit, the monetary policy. And today we have come to the last part of chapter 6. Last part of chapter 6. The recent advancement in banking sector. It is found on page number 116. The recent advancement in banking sector. So what are the recent advancements that has happened in the banking sector? Yes, I think you are able to answer. Some are saying online banking, internet banking, the ATM is very good, the Google Pay. Then what else? Then you are using the credit card, the debit card. So these are the recent developments in the banking sector. Online banking, also known as internet banking, is an electronic payment system that enables customers of a bank or other financial institutions to conduct a range of financial transactions through the financial institution's website. So we need to use the website to do all these transactions. So what is e-banking, online banking, or internet banking? E-banking is called as online banking or internet banking. I'm reading it from the screen. In simple terms, it does not involve any physical exchange of money. What do you mean by that? You need not go in person, or you need not be giving a rupee or collecting some currencies from someone. It is not any physical exchange of money, but it's all done electronically. It is done electronically from one account to another using the internet. So it is not any physical transaction which is happening, but it is all done electronically from one account to another using the internet. From a personal computer, you can access your bank account information and perform many banking functions like transferring money, making a loan payment, etc. So you can just sit at home. If you have a personal computer, or nowadays you can use even your mobile phone, Android phones, to do these transactions. The only thing is you must have a bank account. Then if you have a bank account, you should give a requisition in the bank stating that you want to use this internet facility. Without that, they will not give you. You have to pay a minimum amount for that. Then you can avail the internet facility and we can start doing all the transaction through the internet from a personal computer or a mobile phone. Instead of going to a bank in person, you can do all the transactions. That is only called as e-banking. There is another one called as virtual banking, something similar to e-banking only. Virtual bank means nowadays you would have been to a bank where the bank is made up of bricks, okay, and mortar, and you would have seen only these banks, concrete banks, buildings, pakka buildings. I mean concrete or brick and mortar banks means it's a concrete building. Virtual banks is not a concrete building. It just uses the internet. It uses the presence of internet. You need not pay rent for a building, or you need not pay to the workers there. It is done through the internet. So virtual bank have only an internet presence which enables them to lower cost than additional brick and mortar banks. So it helps to reduce the cost. Instead of paying rent and wages to the people who are working there, it works out to be cheap. One or two people can work using the internet. So it helps to lower the cost of the RBI. So nowadays you have even the virtual banks. Then you have NEFT and RTGS. So what are these? NEFT and RTGS. NEFT is called as National Electronic Fund Transfer. RTGS is called as Real-Time Gross Settlement. So interbank transfer enables electronic transfer of funds from the account of the remitter in one bank to the account of the beneficiary maintained with any other bank branch. So here I'm talking about two different branches. Suppose a person, Mr. X, he has an account in UCO Bank. Another person, Mr. Y, has an account in Indian Overseas Bank, IOB Bank. If they want to transfer money, they can do it with the interbank transfer. So interbank transfer is transferring money from one bank to the account holder in another bank. So interbank transfer enables electronic transfer of funds from the account of the remitter. Suppose if X is in one bank and Y is in another bank, it can be done. In the remitter in one bank to the account of the beneficiary maintained with any other bank branch. There are two systems of interbank transfer. So the interbank transfer can happen through two ways. They are NEFT and RTGS. So I repeat, there are two systems of interbank transfer. They are NEFT and RTGS. Both these systems are maintained by RBI. NEFT operates in half-hourly basis. It functions every half hour, in every half-hourly basis. Whereas RTGS happens in real-time gross settlement. You must know the difference between NEFT and RTGS. Both these are bank transfer. Wait, let me take my laser pointer. So NEFT and RTGS are two ways in which bank transfer can happen. But there is a difference between NEFT and RTGS. It is very, very important. NEFT happens in batches. For every half an hour basis only, they'll be transferring the money. Whereas RTGS happens immediately. If I want to transfer amount through RTGS, the moment I transfer my account to another account, immediately it goes to the other person's account. Whereas NEFT takes some time because they don't do it immediately. They combine 2 or 3 transactions, and then for every 30 minutes they start doing this transaction. So it takes at least minimum of 30 minutes for the money sent through NEFT to be transferred from one account to another. Whereas RTGS happens immediately. There is no time lag. This is called as National Electronic Fund Transfer. This is called as real-time gross settlement. Transaction happens in batches, hence it can be slow. Transaction happens in real time, hence it is fast. It happens immediately. Timings for this: every day from 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. you can do NEFT. On Saturdays it is only up to 12:30 p.m. Whereas RTGS, it is from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and on Saturdays you have it till 1:30 p.m. You don't have it on Sundays. There is no minimum limit, okay? I mean the amount here. Whereas here, the minimum amount for RTGS transfer is rupees 2 lakhs. The minimum amount must be 2 lakhs. Lesser than 2 lakhs means you have to do it only by NEFT. So here there is no minimum limit. Whether it is 100 rupees or 500 or 1 lakh you can do. Whereas here, for lower amount you cannot do. Only it starts only from 2 lakhs. There is no maximum limit here, and here also you do not have any maximum limit. What is the advantage of these two? Suppose if I am using an ATM automated teller machine, means I can withdraw only 5,000 or 10,000 at a time. Apart from that, I cannot do anything. But RTGS and NEFT, suddenly, if I want to send someone for an emergency 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs from my account, I can do this through RTGS, and it happens in real time gross settlement. Immediately, it is so fast. And I can also do it through NEFT, which is a bit slow. Next, we have ATM. What is ATM? Automated teller machine. Have you visited an ATM? Have you operated an ATM? Yes, I think many of you would have done it. Instead of going to a bank, in those days when you want to have take money, we need to go to the bank. We have to stand in a queue. We have to sign a voucher, withdrawal slip, and then only we can take the amount. But nowadays it has become very easy. You just have a card, you have a debit card, you go to the ATM, you just swipe it or you insert it and you type the amount and you get the amount immediately. So automated teller machine is a device, it is a machine, okay? But for that you must have a debit card. Without the debit card you cannot be using an ATM, and you must have an amount in your account. You should have some amount. Without that you cannot be using the debit card. If you have 10,000, you can withdraw only up to 10,000. You cannot withdraw more than that. So what is an automated teller machine? Automated teller machine 6.11.3. ATM transformed the bank tech system when they were first introduced in 1967. So it was used in 1967. The next revolution in ATM is likely to involve contactless payment. Okay. After this ATM, what is the next step, higher step? It is contactless. You need not go even to the ATM. It is happening nowadays. You have the Google Pay, you have the Apple Pay. Much like the Apple Pay or Google Wallet, soon we will be able to conduct contactless ATM transaction using a smartphone. You need not go to the ATM. You can just sit at home. You can use your smartphone and you can get the money. Nowadays we have even the Google Pay also. Okay. These technology can help overall bank security by protecting against ATM hacks. So the ATM machine also, they are hacking nowadays. So they are using advanced biometric authentication is already used. You must use only biometrics, like how we use for punching. No, nowadays we are in school also, we have started biometrics for attendance. So in future, ATM, instead of using card, you have to use even the biometric to make it safer. Biometric system is already used in certain places. Biometric authentication is already used in India, and its recognition is in phase at Qatar National Bank ATMs. They have started using this in Qatar National Bank ATMs. So it will help for, it will give more security and it will protect against ATM hackers. Next we have Paytm. What is Paytm? The short form of payment bank only is called as Paytm. In August 2015, Paytm received a license from the RBI. Paytm has also received license from the RBI. It is a separate entity. It was founded by Vijay Shekhar Sharma. He holds 51% shares in that. One Mr. Vijaya Shekhar Sharma owns 51% of the share in Paytm. The rest is owned by 197 Communication. It holds 39% and another 10% is held by the subsidiary of 197. So it is an organization, 197 Communication. So 39% is owned by 197 Communication and 10% is owned by the subsidiary of 197 as well as Sharma. So this is about Paytm. Then you have the debit card and the credit card. What are debit cards? A debit card is a card allowing the holder to transfer money electronically from their bank account when making a purchase. So instead of carrying my purse or my handbag to a shop, I can just take the credit card or the debit card. Debit card means you must have some amount. You must have amount in your account. Without that, you cannot use the debit card. If I have zero balance and if I go and give my debit card for any purchase, I will not be able to buy anything. I should have money in my account, then only I can use the debit card. Whereas credit card, even without money, you can use it. For credit card, you will be paying like how you pay rate of interest, you have to pay additional charges for using a credit card. A credit card is a payment card issued to the user to enable the card holder to pay a merchant for goods and services based on the card holder's promise to the card issuer. This credit card is issued by one bank. சப்போஸ் இப்போ ஐசிஐசிஐல நான் ஒரு கிரெடிட் கார்டு வாங்குறேன்னா என்னுடைய விவரம் எல்லாத்தையும் சொல்லணும். ஐ எம் அ டீச்சர், ஐ ஏர்ன் so much, and he will see whether I have the capacity to repay. Then only he will issue the card. So I have to go and approach a bank. I must get the credit card. Even if I don't have the money, I can give this credit card and purchase my grocery or whatever I want, I can purchase it. And within some days, I have to return back the money to ICICI Bank with certain amount of interest. Additional charges I have to give. So nowadays, we started using the plastic cards, the debit card and the credit card. Then a merger of banks is also happening nowadays. What do you mean by merger of banks? The government of India or the RBI has started the merging of banks. 5 or 6 banks, they are merged together as one bank. Okay, to cut down the cost of administration, the RBI has taken up this. Okay, 5 associate banks. The merger of banks started long back. In 2017 also, there was some merging of banks. Union Cabinet decided to merge all the 5 associate banks of State Bank Group with State Bank of India. So some banks were under the control of State Bank Group. So they brought these banks under the control of State Bank of India in the year 2017. After the Parliament passed the merger bill, the subsidiary banks have ceased to exist. So these banks do not exist. They have been merged with the State Bank. So what are the banks which have merged with State Bank? They are the Bharatiya Mahila Bank, the State Bank of Bikaner and Jaipur, State Bank of Hyderabad, State Bank of Mysore, State Bank of Patiala and State Bank of Travancore. இந்த 6 பேங்க்ஸும் எதோட சேர்த்து விட்டுட்டாங்க? ஸ்டேட் பேங்க் ஆஃப் இந்தியாவோட சேர்த்து விட்டுட்டாங்க. The other 2 associate banks, namely the State Bank of Indore and State Bank of Saurashtra, had already been merged with the State Bank of India. ஏற்கனவே 2 இதை சேர்த்திருந்தாங்க, merge பண்ணியிருந்தாங்க. அதுக்கப்புறம் the Mahila Bank was merged. Now recently they have merged 5 more banks. So after the merger of all these banks, SBI has increased to 37 crore customers. So now there are 37 crore customers in the SBI, and they have a branch network of around 24,000 branches are there, and there are around 60,000 ATMs across the country. So this is about the merger of bank. Then you must know about money market. Money market is the mechanism. Okay, money market is the mechanism through which short-term funds are loaned and borrowed. So if you want to get a short-term loan or borrowing, it can be done through money market. It designates financial institutions which handle the purchase, sale and transfer of short-term credit instruments. So for short-term credit, for short-term borrowing, The term used is money market. It is a mechanism through which short-term funds are loaned and borrowed. Capital market is another part of financial market, is concerned with raising of capital, dealing in shares, bonds, and other long-term investment. Capital market is for long-term investment, and here they deal with shares and bonds. The last one is about demonetization. What is demonetization? Demonetization is the act of stripping a currency's unit of its status as legal tender. It occurs whenever there is a change of national currency. So whenever suddenly what happens, the existing currency is stripped out of its power, or it's an act of stripping a currency unit of its status as legal tender. You cannot use that money any longer. Nobody will take that money and give you products. It occurs whenever there is a change of national currency. It happened recently. I hope you remember it. On November 8th, 2016, the Indian Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, announced the demonetization of rupees 500 and rupees 1000 banknotes of the Mahatma Gandhi series. So this is only the picture of the Mahatma Gandhi series, rupees 500 and rupees 1000. Suddenly, the Narendra Modi government said that you cannot use it. 500 and 1000 rupees notes இனிமே செல்லாது. தயவு செய்து உங்க கையில இருக்கிறது எல்லாத்தையும் என்ன பண்ணிருங்க, பேங்க்ல போய் கொடுத்துருங்கன்னு சொன்னாங்க. ஸோ அப்படி பேங்க்ல போய் 99% ஆஃப் த நோட்ஸ் இன் சர்க்குலேஷன் ரீச் தி ஆர்பிஐ. மீதி 1% தான் ரீச் ஆகல. ஸோ நவுடேஸ் வி கேனாட் யூஸ் திஸ் காந்தி சீரீஸ் 500 and 1000 rupees note. Instead of that, new series of currencies have been introduced. So what is the objective? இந்த மாதிரி திடீர்னு அந்த பணத்தினுடைய மதிப்பை இறக்குறதுக்கு என்ன ரீசன்? மதிப்பை இறக்குறதுக்கு இல்லை, demonetize பண்றதுக்கு, stripping a currency of its unit. What is the objective? பண நீக்கம், பண மதிப்பு நீக்கம். Objective of demonetization, it is removing black money from the country. Suppose people are piling 500 and 1000 and they are having it as black money, to strip all that black money completely remove பண்றதுக்காக. Then for stopping of corruption and stopping of terror fronts. It was easy to take 500 and 1000 rupees notes in suitcases and give it to terror organizations, or organization which were doing illegal things. Then curbing of fake notes. People started printing a lot of fake notes. So to curb the fake notes, printing of fake notes, demonetization happened in India on November 8th, 2016. Since this happened very recently, this is very, very important, girls. Please go through this. This is a very important question, quite often asked. What is demonetization and the objective of demonetization? I think with this, we have come to the end of chapter 6. And that there are certain questions at the back. Distinguish between money market and capital market. Mention the objectives of demonetization. These are all 3 marks question. So please go through it. We will be having a quarterly. I will tell you, I will give you further instruction regarding the quarterly examination. You start preparing it. As already said, please go through your 1 word, 2 marks and 3 marks. 5 marks specifically, I will give you certain questions and you will be asked to study that. Okay, thank you, girls.